So first of all, I could see that a lot of you know me, but not all of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Roslyn Franken. I am an author and speaker, and I am here today to bring us together with all the social distancing and people in self-isolation. I thought, what a great way to gather people, and I see people from all over to come together, and let's look at ways of how to stay positive during this pandemic. I'm going to try and keep this to about 20 minutes, give or take a minute or two, maybe have some time for some questions or comments at the end. So first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, this pandemic sucks. It's scary. There's people suffering, the economy is suffering, people are being infected, people are in the hospital, people are dying. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And nobody knows what's going to happen next. Nobody knows when this is going to pass, how this is going to pass, what the new normal is going to look like. And yeah, it's scary. We all feel like our whole sense of certainty has been stolen away from us. And we have to find ways of dealing with that. So how do we stay sane and positive through all of this? And that's what I want to talk about. So I'm coming at this from the angle of a cancer survivor. When I was 29 years old, I had a tumor resting in my neck on the main artery to my brain that turned out to be stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, cancer of the lymph nodes. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. And after 9 months of chemotherapy and losing all my hair and all the other nasty side effects, I learned a thing or two about life, as you can imagine. And one thing I learned is how precious life is, how life can change like this. Life can change on a dime. And when we're going about our lives, coasting along in our daily routine, kind of on automatic pilot, we tend to have this false sense of security, as if there is any certainty in this world, in this life. And when you think about it, with the whole world being in this panic over this pandemic and all this uncertainty, and it's so scary, I'm here to say, you know what? Every day that you wake up, life is uncertain. We never know what's going to happen next. We never know what's going to happen. Things can change any day. So we have to let go of this fear of uncertainty, because it is part of our daily life. The only thing that is certain in this life is that there is always uncertainty to deal with. So that's an important piece. Another important piece is that going through the cancer experience, and if any of you are going through cancer or have people in your families going through cancer or who have gone through cancer, you will understand this, that your immune system is your gold. That is one thing I learned. And anything that you have control over to make sure that you are not doing things that will weaken your immunity system are all the things that are going to also help you stay positive. So what are things that lower your immune system? Things like negative stress, worry, fear, anxiety, anger, all these negative emotions that make your stress hormones go crazy and lower your immune system, which makes you more vulnerable to getting the virus or getting any kind of sickness for that matter. So we have to look at ways of how do we control the things we have control over, of things like our negative emotions, our stress, our anxiety, our fear, our worry, all those things. So I want to look at a few things that work for me that I'm going to suggest for you. You can take what you want from it, but I just thought I would share some of these things. And first and foremost, stop watching the news 24/7. There is constant breaking news, and it's always something about how many more people have died, how many more people are in the hospital, people being infected, and what world leaders are to blame, and there's conspiracy theories, and you go on Facebook and there's all this negative stuff. And I happen to be a very sensitive person. I'm a caring person. I know a lot of you are. And when I watch this stuff and pay attention to it too much, it just drags me down. It makes me angry. It makes me upset. I feel sad. And it stresses me out. And again, I know that I can't go there. So I'm not saying put your head in the sand. I'm not saying be oblivious to what's happening in the world, but really monitor how much time and energy you devote to this. You really have to be careful. I set boundaries up. You got to say, okay, enough, and walk away. I won't allow it to take hold of me, because it will make you susceptible to even depression. I mean, we don't want to get infected by the virus physically, but we also don't want to get infected by it mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's very, very, very important. And if I'm going to look at the news, I'm going to do it first thing in the morning. And then after that, get on with my day. Do not watch the news or pay attention to the news right before you go to bed, because if you know it's going to make you upset and it affects your sleep, I'm telling you, good sleep is also golden for your immune system, for your health, and for being able to be positive during the day. If you are not sleeping and you're tired all the time, it's harder to stay positive and be able to be in a positive mindset. Absolutely. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is looking at your beliefs about the world. What are your worldviews? And for me, I think about my parents. As many of you know, my parents were survivors of World War II. And today happens to be Holocaust Memorial Day, so very appropriate that I'm talking about them today, especially my mother, who survived the concentration camps of Nazi Europe, including Auschwitz, the most notorious of all the camps. And my father, he survived the Nagasaki atomic bomb as a prisoner of war in Japan. And as you know, I wrote a book about their life called Meant to Be, a true story of might, miracles, and triumph of the human spirit. Now, my parents were beaten, tortured, starved, lived in the most horrendous of living conditions with infectious diseases, and watching people around them getting killed and executed, and horrible, horrible things that they survived. And yet they came out of it and not just survived, but thrived beyond it and held on to this belief that things in life happen for a reason, that things are meant to be, whether we understand it or not. And yes, you can get angry with God for why things happen. But my mother used to tell me, never ask why, because there are no answers. But just to know and believe that things do happen for a reason and they are meant to be. I know not everybody believes that, but I believe that so strongly because I've just seen it so many times in their stories of just miracles of things that have happened, and even in my own life. And that belief does help me to stay positive. My parents did not sit around and wait for or pray for a miracle. We can't just sit back and get depressed and look at what's happening and just feel helpless and powerless. My parents believed that they had their own active role to play in their fate. They believed that their role was to remain mighty and hopeful and have trust and faith that they would live to see another day and another day and another. And that's what I see our role as being positive means having trust and faith that we will get through this time of this pandemic. It is temporary. The history has shown, the world has gone through many pandemics, has gone through many times of inhumanity, many times of war, many times of economic crisis, people losing their jobs, people losing their health, people losing their lives, but the world has recovered, the world will overcome, and we have to remember this is a temporary time. It will pass. We don't know when, we don't know how, nobody knows, not even the experts, not even the world leaders can tell us. Only God knows, if you believe in God or whatever. Nobody knows. So we just have to believe and have faith and trust and keep our strength throughout it. So people say to me, Roslyn, like, how do you stay so positive? Or what are you doing during this pandemic? How are you keeping busy? I mean, your business has been affected, your income has been affected, and you're in self-isolation. What are you doing? Well, for me, one of the biggest things that I find important that can help you stay positive also, probably one of the most important things, it's about finding purpose. Viktor Frankl was in Auschwitz. He was a Holocaust survivor. He was in the Auschwitz camp, just like my mother was, and he was a neurologist and psychiatrist. I'm sure many of you have heard of him. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And imagine, as a psychiatrist in the camps, observing people, and he noticed that the people in the camps, the prisoners who had a sense of purpose, in spite of all their hardship and suffering, things that are unimaginable to us. He said the people who had some form of purpose were the ones who were the most resilient and the most likely to survive. And I know it's true. I read his book years ago. It was a very hard book for me to read because of my mother, what she went through. But I remember before reading his book, my mother told me that in the camps, the prisoners who gave up, who lost their fighting spirit, who lost their sense of hope, who had no purpose anymore, my mother could see it right away in their eyes. And she said within days, everything else being equal, they would be dead. So what was my mother's sense of purpose? What kept her going? My mother's purpose was she had this vision that one day she was going to get married and have children of her own, and that was non-negotiable for her. So she had a reason to survive. And my mother in the camps she created purpose for herself, which is I'm going to be talking about in a second. In addition to that, imagine in the camp, my mother on the Friday nights, my mother would make candles. Somehow, I don't even know how she did it, out of margarine that they had hoarded and threads from her dress. They had somehow made candles. And she would light the candles for the Friday night Sabbath and sing the beautiful prayers over the Sabbath candles. My mother had the most beautiful singing voice. And people would say to her after that, just listening to her sing and seeing the flames of the fire of the candles, it gave them relief. It gave them hope. And I think about that. And my mother said, even the Nazi guard said to her, he said, it's a good thing you have a beautiful singing voice because otherwise I'd have to shoot you. Can you imagine? So the courage that it took my mother, but knowing that every Friday night she was going to do this, it gave her purpose. And the light of those candles amidst the darkness of what they were going through gave everybody hope. So it's an amazing story, both my parents' story. So purpose. We know that purpose helps people stay positive, and again, helps your immune system because it's keeping you uplifted. So what things can we do for purpose? Well, since all my speaking engagements have been canceled for the foreseeable future, I've discovered Zoom. So I gave myself purpose by even just creating this presentation. It gave me a reason to put something new together and to just bring this to you. Because it's meaningful. Purpose can be something for you, whether you're doing something meaningful to help others, like my friend Gwen, she loves sewing, so she's sewing masks for people. Doing something meaningful, like my friend in Ottawa who is going through cancer, her neighbor made a beautiful pasta dish dinner and brought it over to her. That's a beautiful thing. So you're doing something with your skills and talents that could bring meaning to others is a beautiful thing. For me, I think reaching out to people, connecting with people, we're so used to our own lives. I know my usual purpose in life keeps me so busy. I'm always running around, having places to go, people to see, speaking at places, being in traffic, stuck in traffic, trying to get to places on time, finding a parking spot, rushing here, rushing there. And then socially, my husband and I, we're both what I call flaming extroverts, right? So we're always out meeting people for dinner here or there and everywhere. So I've had to totally turn my purpose upside down, because with self-isolation and social distancing, those things aren't possible. So I want to still stay connected to my friends. So I say, instead of just an occasional little note on Facebook, I say, let's do a video call. Let's look at each other and do some face-to-face time and have a virtual cup of tea, virtual cup of coffee together. So you could still connect. There's no reason to be lonely and feel that isolated that you can't connect with people with the technology that we have. And if you are going to reach out to people, I encourage you to reach out to people who are positive. Or if you are talking to people and you see that the conversation is going into a real downward spiral and you're getting upset and you feel the stress starting to come on, you need to change the conversation or get off that call, because you don't want to reach out to people and then get off the conversation feeling worse than when you started. So be careful where you and who you spend your energy with. Or if you know somebody is feeling down, then you can specifically contact them to see if you can uplift them. So you can bring meaningful time with them by doing that. So, but make sure that you monitor your own energy as well. Another thing that has really helped me is focusing on health. This is a time to kickstart your healthy living habits. I wrote a book called The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. When I was 39, about to turn 40, I got on the scale one day and looked down and went, oh my God, I was at my heaviest weight ever. And that was 10 years after surviving cancer. So I stood there thinking, what am I doing? This makes no sense. How can I let myself keep gaining weight when I know that this is just going to put me at more health risks? I already survived cancer. My mother died of cancer. I have heart disease on my father's side of the family. So I put the pedal to the metal basically and figured out how to get that in check and wrote a book about that called The A-List. And with this time that I have now, I'm exploring with new recipes. I mean, how many times people say to me when I'm doing my weight loss coaching, people, oh, well, I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't have time to make recipes. I don't have time to exercise. Well, guess what? You have the time now to start getting into some healthy habits. Try new recipes, get creative with your cooking. Why not? Get into a regular exercise routine. These are all things that you have the gift of time. People are complaining sometimes that they're bored or that they're frustrated with the self-isolation and the social distancing and they can't go out and do things they want to do. Whereas I'm turning it around and I'm saying, my God, this time is a gift. It's giving me permission to slow down. It's giving me permission to do things maybe that I've been putting off for a long time. Maybe you have things that you've been putting off. One thing I know when I do my speaking at events about my parents' story, about my book Meant to Be, people often come up to me afterwards and they say things like, wow, is that ever inspiring? And then they ask me, how did you write your book? And I'm like, I don't know, what do you mean? And they say, well, I want to write a book too. And I have this great idea for a book, but I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to get started, or I don't have time, or I don't have the self-discipline to actually write the book. How did you do it? And I say to people, you know what? If any of you or anybody you know wants to write a book, this is your time. You have the opportunity. And I thought, what better time to get started? And I actually put together an author coaching program, and I'm going to have a workshop next week, write your book workshop. Okay, because if you want to write a book, you don't know how to get started, or maybe you just want somebody to write it with you or even for you, I'll give you information about that for next week if you're interested. So these are some things to think about. And you want to connect with others. You want to look at creative ways of finding purpose in your life. Maybe writing a book is not your thing. Maybe you're already doing healthy habits, but you're looking for more stuff. Well, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be something meaningful that it's going to change the world, but it's going to change your world, and it's going to help keep you positive. I know other people who are going through photographs, right? You don't have to have any special talents or skills to be creative. Creative could just mean thinking of something creative to do. People who are finding old photographs, I'm seeing them posting it on Facebook, their families, and it brings back good memories. So when you see photographs and it brings back good memories, that helps you stay positive too. So these are just some of the things, and I just want to share what I just mentioned to you about. Give me 1 second. So this is my book, Meant to Be, which a lot of you know about. It's available on Amazon and on my website. This is the other book I mentioned. So reading is a great way, but read these kind of books that are going to keep you positive. Don't read books about conspiracy theories or murder or things, again, that are going to bring you down. This is a wonderful book, Man's Search for Meaning. This is my other book, The A-List. It's a self-help inspirational book. Next week, on Thursday, April 30th at 2 o'clock, I'm going to do a writing your book workshop. If that's something of interest to you, maybe not, but maybe you know other people who may be. And this is my contact information if you want to contact me. I would love to hear from you. You know, what are things that you're doing to stay positive? What are things that you think would be helpful to others? And whatever that you want to share. We have a few more minutes. I don't have any questions in the group chat. Nobody sent me anything privately, but if you have a question, maybe send me a note, or how can you let me know? Let's see. You could send me a note through the Zoom group chat. If you have a question or maybe a comment, is there anything I said that resonated with you or was meaningful for you? I'd love to hear from you. Anybody?
Hi, Roslyn. Just want to say thank you very much for all of this. It's really been very lovely
Stay
to have
healthy.
you.
You've got a university to open in Nagaland.
Yeah, how do I mute all, but just 1 second.
I'll tell you what, because
1 second. Okay, now you can, people can unmute themselves. If you have a question or a comment, I think I figured this out. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Roslyn. Can you hear me? It's Allison. Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. This was a lovely gesture. It was very helpful and very informative, and it's just so very nice to see you again and see that you're well and Elliot's fine, and to meet all these new people online. It's very nice. Thank you very much. You've done a good service for all of us.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. That means a lot. That's why I'm doing it.
Thank you, Roslyn, for your book and for your presentation today. It's very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you were able to make it. Glad you were able to make it. Oh, somebody, could you share what's happening with your film project? Oh, of course, Catherine Beauvard would ask me that. Catherine Beauvard, let me see if I can find your face here. Catherine Beauvard is somebody I met at the Banff World Media Festival a few years ago. So Catherine, you'll be happy to know that the movie of my book, Meant to Be, is in, you know, what they call in development. So it's this part, getting the money, the funding together, but I do have a producer, and it's on its way process, but there's nothing new really to report, and you will find out, believe me. When I have news to share, everybody'll know.
I'm so excited about it. Do you have any choice of actors, Rosalind, that you'd like to play your mom and dad? Because that's going to be really key.
You know, I not fully. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I know that will be key, and maybe we could talk on a separate time if you have some suggestions.
Absolutely. I haven't thought of anyone, but quite often when people are invited, they just like people who you think, oh, I'll never get so-and-so. But you invite them, they read the project and they go, I love this. And they agree, they say yes. And having that person on and attached just makes it, you know?
Yes.
So think big. Hon.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you want?
One thing that I'm finding that's really helpful, the same as today, scheduling your appointment to 2 o'clock for a sense of purpose, is having a schedule, something to look forward to the next day, or writing down what needs to be done and assigning some type of a time frame to it, as opposed to, why am I getting up this morning? I can sleep until noon. I have no reason to get showered. I'm not seeing anybody.
Exactly.
As opposed to making a schedule of some type. And I know it's harder for moms who have kids under wing and are trying to work at home, finding some time for even privacy. But finding some sense of a schedule in your day makes it much easier.
Absolutely. And that's part of that whole thing, exactly, of having purpose, so that when you wake up in the morning, you're not just sitting there going, oh my God, what am I going to do today, or being bored. I think being bored is a terrible thing. I don't even know what that's like, but that's my nature. So I know for some people it's harder than for others, but being bored is, you need to have purpose. It's purpose that keeps you going. Purpose is about finding that thing that keeps you going when the going gets tough. Yeah.
Roslyn, I would like to thank you very much. You're a very motivating and inspirational person, and I even took a shower before I listened to your presentation.
For those of us who have home-based offices and have for 20 years or more, I don't think it's as daunting for us than those who all of a sudden find themselves at home for 24 hours and have to find some sense of schedule.
Absolutely. I see a hand up here, so I think that's supposed to mean that lower hand. So, bear with me. I'm not an expert at this yet, can you tell? You can unmute yourself. Somebody who has their hand up, you can unmute yourself, because I'm looking here and I don't see how I can unmute you.
Hey, Roz.
Yes.
Oh, it's Rini. I just wanted to comment on your suggestion with the news.
Sure.
I too have for years not been watching the news at 11 o'clock and really limiting like 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at noon. That's it, because it just gets over the top. So that's one of the high stresses is, listening to the unknown, and taking that out of your daily routine is a must.
A must. Thank you. That's why I said to me, that's one of the most important things. The world, there's so much negativity, and we don't focus on that. I was on a event last night. Somebody did an event for Holocaust Memorial, and it was talking about how the Jewish people who suffered so much in the Holocaust, how we choose life. It is our commandment to choose life and to focus on the living, not on those who have passed. You have to focus also on the living. You can't just look at those who have lost their lives. We have to look at those who have survived, who have the strength to keep going, and finding that strength inside us. And I think that's important for all of us, is to find that strength about how to keep things going in a positive and meaningful way as best we can. And
I wanted, oh, okay.
No,
I wanted to add something, the silver lining in this whole pandemic is the world is now one. There's no more over here and over there. There's no black, white, pink, purple. There's no Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist. We're all one. And so now the world as we knew it, with all the anger, is dissipating. And that's what I see out of it. And that's how I stay positive.
Well, and that is exactly it, because you know what? The kind of cool thing is this COVID-19 does not discriminate.
Exactly.
Does not matter the color of your skin, your religious belief, doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, right? Anybody is susceptible to it. So because anybody and everybody is susceptible to it, it's like you said, Rini, we're all in this together.
Yep.
And
so everybody should, there's no need to be bored or depressed or any of that. And help your fellow neighbor. I'm doing groceries for my brother, and I feel like it's a huge honor and mitzvah to be doing it. Why should two of us be going out? Yeah. So if you can do that for someone else, that small thing is huge for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just looking at the time because I know I have a time limit on this Zoom call. So
it said no more.
And I know it, I think it gave me a few extra minutes. So, but I want to thank you all for being here, and please contact me. My website, roslynfranken.com. If you're interested in writing and want to be in that workshop next week, I can send you the information, no problem. If you're not friends with me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, because that's where I post a lot of my upcoming events and things like that. That's just one way to get the word out. And I'd love to try and do these type of things on a more regular basis, and just come together. And feel free to email me, your comments from today, anything that resonated with you, anything that you're doing that helps you that I didn't mention on the call because I only had so much time. So that's it. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roslyn. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you, Roz.
Be safe, stay well.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Stay healthy, everybody. And it's great seeing you all.
Stay well.
Okay.
Thank you. Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Tot ziens.
Tot ziens, Ezra. Tot volgende keer, Margarita.
Tot volgende keer.
Tot volgende keer. I love it. All my Dutch friends. I love you all.
Okay. We love you too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.